When we left off, when we're talking about motivation, we left off on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the one thing that I didn't tell you all about Maslow's hierarchy is that at the top of the pyramid is that self-actualization, being all the you that you can be. And Maslow actually said that very, very few people ever actually reach self-actualization. He said that most people kind of get stuck in these kind of middle esteem needs, belongingness needs, and don't ever really achieve true self-actualization. So, excuse me. He said that there were the people that do actually reach self-actualization are few and far between, but you can kind of see where people are self-actualized because they have this tendency of being kind of easygoing with their own sense of humor. They have, they just have a part of them that is very, very, I don't want to say easy to get through, but it's just they're just very, very different from most people. So you have to understand that very, very few people ever actually get to the top of the pyramid and being all of them that they can be. So just understand that when we talk about Maslow again later. So we need to talk about how we can, or how motivations, I don't want to say go wrong, but how motivations can actually lead us to things that can be quite dangerous for us. For example, an eating disorder. Now, eating disorders are fairly common in regards to psychological disorders. But they are still fairly rare. A very small portion of the population has eating disorders. I'm guessing that probably one or maybe two or three of you have either experienced an eating disorder at some point in your life or are struggling with an eating disorder currently. Either way, they are something that people do struggle with throughout their entire lives. That can be helped and treated with some therapy and some additional help. Now, there are two main types of eating disorders that we're going to talk about. The first one is anorexia nervosa. Anorexia is basically a starve diet. People don't eat, but they continue to work out and put a lot of energy into things to be as absolutely rail thin as is humanly possible for them to be. It is a dangerous medical condition that can cause severe complications, especially for teens who are still growing. To begin with, many who suffer from anorexia have cardiovascular problems like an irregular heartbeat or low blood pressure. They also develop gastrointestinal problems such as chronic constipation and abdominal pain. The chronic constipation comes from the fact that when anorexics do eat, the small amount of food and nutrients that they do eat is basically kind of halted in their intestinal tract as their body is trying to take all of the nutrients that it can get out of it as much humanly possible. And that can actually lead to stomach cramps and abdominal cramps, but it can also lead to sepsis because the food is supposed to keep moving. It's not supposed to stop inside your intestinal tract for any prolonged period of time, and that can lead to blockages, and that can lead to some really bad things happening. It can lead to ruptures, and that leads to death. Many young female anorexics suffer from menstrual irregularities. Some, as a result of their extreme dieting behavior, render themselves incapable of being pregnant. Between 5 and 6% of all anorexics die from the disorder. Most of the deaths occur because of either suicide or cardiovascular episodes like a heart attack. In the 1970s, a pop star named Karen Carpenter died at the age of 32 from a heart attack brought on because of her anorexia. Karen Carpenter's anorexia was kind of it has become fairly well known since her death in the, I want to say, late 70s, early 80s. I'm not exactly sure as to when she died, but her family has kind of made it an issue that they wanted to make sure that people knew about, and that was kind of the beginning of this, what anorexia is and how it can be very dangerous. But at one point, Karen Carpenter was eating nothing but carrots. Because she was on some kind of crash diet, and she read about how eating carrots takes more calories to eat and digest than it has in the carrots. So she was eating nothing but carrots. And carrots have a chemical in it called beta carotene, and it's what makes the carrots orange. And she was eating so many carrots that the beta carotene was actually staining her skin orange. So she looked like one gigantic skinny carrot. Which is really unhealthy, but she continued until she died. Some psychologists believe that young women who suffer from anorexia unconsciously want to avoid becoming full-grown, mature adult females. They feel more safe and secure as little girls. So restricting their diets so severely allows them to avoid full maturity. We'll talk a little bit more about the causes of eating disorders, but this is kind of the root of the eating disorder is control. It's control of your body, your appetite, your everything. It's about control, and we'll get to that a little bit more. The second eating disorder that we're going to talk about is bulimia. Bulimia is an eating disorder that's related to anorexia, but instead of starving yourself until you have nothing left to, you're just basically literally skin and bones. Bulimia involves a ritual known as binge and purge. Usually the binge is set off by some kind of stress, whether it be emotional stress or psychological stress or, some kind of stressful event that happens to you. And the binge usually is the comfort of eating, because we all enjoy sitting down and having some kind of comfort food, something that we maybe we had when we were kids, or whatever, sitting down and eating a pile of Dino Nuggets. Well, the binge for some bulimics can lead to them gorging on as many as 20,000 calories in a single sitting. Now, for those of you who don't know, the FDA or the USDA or some scientists that have figured this out, we as human beings need between 2,000 and 2,500 calories a day. So 20,000 calories is about 10 days worth of food. Okay. And they eat it in one sitting. Okay. That's a lot of food. And so after the binge, they feel terrible about everything that they ate, and they begin the purge. The purge comes from them trying to rid themselves of all of the calories that they had during the binge session. That can be done by vomiting, fasting, using diuretics and laxatives, or other methods. Most of the time, bulimics treat their gorge and purge as a secret, private ritual. Like anorexics, bulimics obsess about their weight, but unlike anorexics, bulimics will actually appear to have kind of a normal body weight. They will look healthier. They won't look like, I'm not sure who this is, whoever this is who needs a burger badly. They will look more normal. They won't look like, skin and bones. Bulimia often begins in late adolescence. Sufferers may alternate between bulimic behavior and strict dieting. Bulimia can also cause serious medical complications. For example, constant vomiting results from bulimia eroding tooth enamel and can cause cavities. Repeated vomiting also affects the salivary glands and can cause the stomach to ulcerate or even to rupture, which results in death. Bulimia also tends to disrupt the body's electrolyte balance, which can be really not good. And in addition, constant purging can cause an irregular heartbeat, causing cardiac arrest. Now, these eating disorders for a long, long time were seen as, well, that's a female problem. Men don't suffer from eating disorders. But the reality of the situation actually is that we are finding that men are suffering from eating disorders as well. They are just not very open about it because it is a female problem, not a male problem. So I don't have a eating disorder. I'm not a girl. But it actually is becoming, I don't want to say more and more prevalent, but it's actually coming out more that we're seeing more men doing this. Now, there's a couple of causes of eating disorders that are out there. Most of it is from societal pressures to be thin. We often put unrealistic and impossible standards of beauty upon people, both men and women, and that can contribute to the development of anorexia and bulimia. In one study, 50 to 75% of adolescent females were unhappy with their weight and their body image. Consequently, because of that, teenage girls, it has become a normative behavior to diet. You're always on a diet. Oh, I can't eat that. I can't have this. I can't have that. And so it's kind of become normal as a behavior to deny yourself the food that you want to eat, which, when it comes right down to it, biologically, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you have food available, you should eat it. I mean, obviously, if you've already eaten, you probably should stop eating, but there's food available and you're hungry and you haven't eaten in 6 hours, eat something, for crying out loud. But the images that the media is constantly bombarding us with of ultra thin models and actors and actresses creating distorted images in our heads. We're also seeing, because of new technologies like filters on Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and all these other technological apps that are out there, we're seeing that people's body dysmorphia is becoming worse and worse and worse, because you can have parts of your body distorted, and you are always looking to be that, and it's impossible to be that because there's a computer program that's making your eyes bigger and making your cheeks smaller, and unless you have like surgery, that's not going to happen. And even with surgery, it's not going to happen because it'll just look funny. Like I said, we're seeing this more and more in young men as well, because of a lot of issues arising from images that we are seeing as young men. People who are 2% body fat and have ripped six-pack abs. That's not going to happen for most people. Most young men are not going to have a ripped six-pack abs. And you know what? That's okay. You know why? Because I'd rather have that donut than that six-pack. Actually, I'd rather have that six-pack than that six-pack. So, you know what I mean? I'm over 21, so it's okay. Now, as societal pressures to be thin increase, so do the cases of anorexia and bulimia. The body mass index, which measures body fat based on height and weight, which has its own set of issues. It is that in itself is a hot pile of garbage, and I'm not going to get into that because according to the BMI, I should be 185 pounds, and if I'm 185 pounds, I will look like I'm sick. I will not look healthy. Okay, so I when the doctor says, well, according to the BMI, I just kind of nod my head and smile and go, that's great, and I ignore them because I'm not doing that to myself. I would have to lose like 100 pounds, which I should lose some weight. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not going to lose 100 pounds. Forget that. And the horse it rode in on. So, yeah. Anyway, the average BMI of contestants in the Miss America pageant has steadily declined since the 1950s. In addition, more and more winners of the pageant itself fit the medical definition of thin and undernourished. Statistically, however, there is no real difference in obesity between the genders. 27% of women are considered to be obese and 24% of men. Most weight-based gender differences don't develop until midlife anyway. Eating disorders occur much less commonly among African American and Hispanic women, lending credence to the theory that such disorders develop due to pressures specific to a particular culture or society. So eating disorders are a human issue, not just a female issue. That's not to say that it doesn't disproportionately affect young girls more than it does young boys. But when I was in high school, and this is the absolutely crazy thing, I remember there was a kid that I had known since middle school or since junior high, and we weren't like the best of friends, but we were friendly. And he was, I stayed after school one day to do a project, and I remember going out into the hallway for something, and he was running down the hallway in like a garbage bag, like he was wrapped up in garbage bags, and he was running up and down the hallways. And I remember I watched him go by the first time, and then the second time I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? What are you wearing? Why? And he was like, oh, it's because I'm trying to make weight. Well, he was a wrestler. And in wrestling, you want to be at the top of your weight class, not at the bottom. And so he was overweight of his weight class. And so he was basically trying to sweat out a couple of pounds of water, which is incredibly dangerous because you can become dehydrated, and that can lead to a whole host of bad problems, especially if you're about to wrestle someone to the ground. And that is partially an eating disorder. And for every year that we've been on campus, the wrestlers go through this period of time in the winter months. And if there are any wrestlers here, you know what I'm talking about. You go through a period of time in the winter months when suddenly your weight is the one thing that you focus on, and you have to make sure that you make weight, and you will do anything. And it is an eating disorder. In all honesty, it's what it comes down to. So it's really, really interesting to kind of see the gender juxtaposition between, the young girls who are dieting so that they can, I'm going to be in my swimsuit body by summer. And then there's the wrestlers who are like, I need to lose 2 pounds by 1 o'clock. Otherwise I'm going to be, out of the wrestling match. So, how do I starve myself? I've watched people, walk through my classroom spitting into a thing because they don't want to swallow their own saliva because that will cost them a few pounds. I mean, that's insane. It's also absolutely disgusting, but I've seen it happen. All right. Let me back up here. All right, let's see here. I don't know what Steve Jobs' diet was in particular. I know he was a vegan, but that I think was also kind of health related. He did die of, I think, pancreatic cancer. So that might have been, part of the thing that was keeping him alive. I don't know. Yeah, throwing up is gross. Hey. So what if my voice cracked? I'm sorry, okay? You can't have this luxurious baritone all the time, all right? Yeah, body dysmorphia is a huge, huge problem. I'm getting caught up, dude. Seriously, relax. Yeah. Body dysmorphia is a huge problem, and it is getting worse. And a lot of it is down to the fact that we look at pictures that are photoshopped to within an inch of its life. You can look on YouTube. I saw a video like in the last year or so of it was a woman who got her picture taken, and then somebody took it into Photoshop and then just airbrushed the crap out of it and made her look like a completely different person. Changed their hair color, changed their face shape, changed everything about them except the basic parts of their body. So it was still technically them, but the Photoshop really changed everything. And that's the thing we have to remember. And in Europe, they're actually starting to label pictures on like magazine covers. This has been Photoshopped because they don't want people to have that image of, well, I have to look like this. That's not what the person even looks like. Okay, so it's a huge, huge problem that is becoming larger and larger and larger because of the technologies that we have access to. I mean, hell, I have Photoshop. Not that I know how to use it, but I've got it. Theoretically, I could take a picture of myself and make myself look attractive. I mean, it would take a lot of Photoshop, but you get the idea. All right. The next motivation that we need to talk about is one of it's biologically, it's why you're here, and that is to reproduce. And so we need to talk about sexual motivations as well. Now, sexual motivations are the reason that we are here. If you were here, it is because of sexual motivations of your parents. And I know that's gross and creepy, and I don't like thinking about it either. So let's just get through this, okay? And somebody left. Oh, I don't want to hear about this. No. So according to some psychologists, animals can reawaken their sexual desire by obtaining a new partner. This has been referred to as the Coolidge effect, named after former U.S. President Calvin Coolidge. The thing about Calvin Coolidge that you have to understand is Calvin Coolidge was weird. And I don't mean that like, oh, he was a freak. No, I mean, he was just weird. One of the things that he liked to do is he had a rule in the White House that if Mr. or Mrs. Coolidge was in the room, then the housekeepers and the butlers and everybody had to not be in the room. They couldn't be in the room unless they were delivering something to him, and then they had to leave. They couldn't just stand in the room with them. He didn't want to have a relationship with these people at all. So what he would do is he would hide behind the curtains and wait for the cleaning staff to come in. They'd come in and they'd check to see if he was around. They would, okay, he's not in here. And they'd get to their work cleaning. And then he'd jump out from behind the curtains and scare them and make them run out of the room because he thought that was hilarious. He was also extremely stoic, meaning he didn't really talk much. And when he did, the things that he said, people didn't understand all that much because they were kind of cryptic. He also liked to have his picture taken in full Indian headdress. If you've seen the Native American chief headdresses with all the feathers and all that kind of stuff, that really wasn't a thing. But in the 1920s, it was, and he would get his picture taken in these Indian headdress. And it wasn't like, hey, this is pretty cool, right? It was more of the looking, seriously off into the distance, but wearing an Indian headdress. And he just thought that was the funniest thing. Dude was weird. Anyway, this story about the Coolidge effect could be anachronistic, meaning it didn't actually happen, but it tracks with what we know about Calvin Coolidge. So let's just move on with it. During a trip to a farm, Mr. and Mrs. Coolidge were being given a tour, and the farmer told Mrs. Coolidge that there was a rooster, and he pointed the rooster out. He's like, that rooster right over there has sex more than 20 times a day. Tell that to Mr. Coolidge, Mrs. Coolidge told the farmer. And so the farmer said, okay. And so went over to Mr. Coolidge and said, Mr. President, this rooster over here has sex more than 20 times a day. And when told of that feat, Mr. Coolidge, yes, we are talking about Calvin Coolidge, President of the United States in the 1920s. It's a long time ago. He doesn't matter. You don't have to remember him. Calvin Coolidge. If I could just hold up my hand and there be a picture of Calvin Coolidge, I would, but I can't do that because Google Meet doesn't have that. Anyway, so he gets told, yeah, that rooster right over there had sex more than 20 times today, and he'll do it again tomorrow. And Calvin Coolidge was, oh, does he have sex with the same hen every single time? And the farmer goes, well, no, he has lots of different partners. I mean, all of the chickens, he's having sex with all of them. Tell that to Mrs. Coolidge, Mr. Coolidge said. He's a freak. All right. So, according to evolutionary psychologists, this makes sense because males are trying to maximize their reproductive success, and having many partners is how that happens. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, they lay the eggs regardless if they have sex or not. But if they want to have baby chickens, yes. They need to do it. Yeah. No, the female chicken, they just lay eggs. They're just unfertilized if they're not I don't know how to put this without sounding horrible and gross. So yeah, let's just not. Moving on. They are the same kind of eggs that Human females produce, except yours aren't a shell and you don't lay them. Something else happens. Ask mom and dad. Anyway, so according to evolutionary psychologists, this idea makes sense because, again, males are trying to maximize reproduction. Now, does it apply to human beings? Well, a study was done of college-age males and females, men and women, and what the study found was that the average number of ideal partners that college-age men would like to have is 18, but for college-age women, it was 4 or 5. So, is that evidence of the Coolidge effect? Yes. I don't know. Yes, sure. Does it sound like it evidence of that? Yes. But can we prove it? No. People, however, differ significantly in what they consider attractive in a partner. People usually base their selection of a mate on things that they have learned or experiences that they've had. Next week, we're going to have an opportunity to be able to take a look at this. And it's going to be... Hold on.
How do you not know what you are?
All right. Sorry. I had to answer a question. Anyway, guys, seriously, that horoscopes matter 0. Yeah. Really does. Matter 0. Anyway, it's fun discriminating against people because of the time of the year they were born. Anyway, next week we're going to have an opportunity of being able to find out exactly how many people are out there that match what you're looking for. It's going to be rad. So that's going to be on Wednesday of next week. So, woo! Going to be cool. So just be ready for that. A number of psychological studies suggest that men and women are actually looking for very different things. We've talked about that on Tuesday when we talked about that. It is, again, males are looking for youth and health, and females are typically looking for maturity and wealth. Now, that's not the only thing. Looking for a potential mate is not the only thing that can arouse sexual motivation in the human being. Another can be erotic materials. They can also create sexual motivation. Pornography is not a new phenomenon. As a matter of fact, the word pornography is actually the combination of 2 ancient Greek words, pornos and graphos, which literally translated means dirty words. And the ancient Greeks actually had pottery that they would, put dirty stories on, and those were pornographic. Okay. Yes, they were. They actually would carve pornographic images into the pottery as well. So they were big time freaks. Anyway, Men and women respond very differently to pornographic imagery. Many of it is because of what is in the imagery. Women react typically kind of negative to it or negatively to it because of the objectification and the degradation of women in pornography. Psychologists have actually found that sexual desire will remain elevated for a few hours after exposure to erotic materials. Now, some psychological studies have suggested that there is a link between the use of pornography and sex crimes like rape and sexual assault. Other studies have found that there is no such correlation between the two. Some studies have yielded results that suggest that if there is a sex crimes and pornography link, it could be cultural. For example, in India, the country of India, pornography is illegal. You cannot possess pornography in India. And as a matter of fact, two people kissing is considered pornographic. And I'm not talking like, whoa, I'm talking about just pecking each other on the lips is considered to be pornographic and is absolutely uncalled for. Okay. So if you've ever seen like a Bollywood movie, and you see like the carefully choreographed dance routines, the one thing that you will notice is that the two people who are supposed to be in love never kiss one another, at least not on screen. If they ever come close, curtains come in the way or somebody's face or something happens so that you don't actually see that because it is illegal in India. Okay. Bollywood is India's Hollywood. They actually produce more movies every year than Hollywood does. It is a humongous industry because it's playing to 1 billion people, and it's check it out on YouTube. There's tons of examples of Bollywood movies that are up on YouTube. They like them. I mean, and there are a lot of Americans who watch Bollywood movies because the dance routines are kind of cool, actually, kind of interesting to watch. Anyway, so in India, it is illegal. However, on the other hand, in Japan, pornography is readily available and is actually in vending machines on the street. So it is widely everywhere, and it's not even thought of twice that there is pornography. Yeah, hentai and things like that. So in the two instances, if there is a link between pornography use and sex crimes, we should expect to see that India has a very, very low expectation of sex crimes, and Japan should be extremely high. But it's in fact the opposite. In Japan, there is very few rapes and sexual assaults, but in India, it is off the charts. As a matter of fact, up until very, very recently, it's not, I wouldn't.
It's art.
Yeah, hentai is just basically pornographic cartoons, anime cartoons, typically. Yeah. Anyway, don't look it up. Don't Google search that, at least not with your parents around. Anyway, so in India, we actually have seen a more and more reporting of sex crimes because of a Me Too movement that has taken place in India. It's actually really, really interesting to kind of see happen as women are fighting back because they don't have the ability to be able to do that otherwise. In Japan, on the other hand, again, it is a very low level of sex crimes because, well, it could be that they just don't do that and that's not a thing there, or it could be that they're just not reporting it. Either way, we're seeing very much different levels of sex crimes in those two countries. So it could be that there is actually a cultural thing that has to do with the pornography and sex crimes combination, but we don't know. We're still studying it, okay? Human sexuality is one of those things that we really haven't studied very much. As a matter of fact, one of the very first studies of it was done in the 1940s. It was actually done by the guy in the picture here. His name is Alfred Kinsey. He was a biology professor at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. And in the 1940s, he was absolutely dumbfounded by the misinformation that his students were getting. I mean, he's a biology professor, so he knows how reproduction works. And yet he was having students come to him and say, well, how do animals get pregnant? I mean, are they getting married? And he's like, no, they're not getting married. They're animals. What the hell are you talking about? And he's like, well, my doctor said that unless you're married, you can't get pregnant. You'll have a miscarriage. And you always have miscarriages after that because you know. And Alfred was like, no, that's not how that works. You can get pregnant without being married, and it won't cause you to have miscarriages. And so people were being told these things by their doctors and their ministers, and it was just misinformation. And so he went out to basically find all of the information about human sexuality out that he possibly could. And he did so by using the survey method. Now, we talked about the survey method way back in August at the beginning of the year, but it's basically just a series of questions. And basically what he did was he asked people, just average people, about their sexual histories, and he basically cataloged it all. And he wrote a book called Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. A book that was meant to be a textbook. It was meant to be something that was only for academic audiences, but it became a bestseller. And that bestseller happened because of the fact that at the time, you have to understand, there was no internet. And so everybody wanted to find out, is what I'm into normal? And so they had to read through the book to make sure that, oh yeah, this is, most people like that too. Okay, honey, come here, let's go. So yeah, I don't think I really ever got it myself either, honestly. If I had to say definitively there was a talk, I don't remember there being a talk, but for all I know, I don't know. Wow, that is horrible, Layla. I really, really apologize. Yeah, that's really bad. Oh God, ew. Did not need the details. Okay, a PSP, PlayStation Portable. I'm sorry. Oh, that is gross. All right. Anyway, eventually he would write a companion book, Human Sexuality in the Human Female, and that also would become a bestseller because, again, people really wanted to know, is this normal? And there was nothing out there that could, tell them that because you couldn't talk about it, at least not in the United States. This large-scale survey covered thousands of people across the United States and was a really big moment for psychological research with regard to sex. But it was during the 1940s and 50s, and we were becoming really suppressed at that time. And so people didn't want to read that, and people didn't want to have anything to do with that. And so it kind of got pushed to the side and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that Kinsey found out because of the interviews that he did about people's sexual history was that people viewed homosexuality and heterosexuality as an either or. You're one or the other. And what he found was that it was actually a continuum. And this is where we start kind of getting the research that has been supported through what we talked about when we talked about development back in November. Okay, so we start to see kind of a change in the way that people view things during this time period as well. However, prejudicial attitudes about sexual orientation is still fairly prevalent out there, and it's hard to get an accurate number as to what percentage of the population is homosexual, but estimates between 4 and 17% are kind of average, and then 10% is generally a good average percentage to kind of as a guess. The entire life of Alfred Kinsey was actually adapted into a movie about, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago now. It's called Kinsey. It stars Liam Neeson as Alfred Kinsey because, I mean, look at him. He kind of looks like Liam Neeson, right? He looks a little bit. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a movie that I would, oh my God, you should totally watch this movie. It's not that good. But it is a fairly good movie, especially the beginning part. Liam Neeson, Taken. I have a special set of skills. He was Qui-Gon Jinn in the first episode of Star Wars. No, nothing. He's a good actor. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he's a good actor. I like movies that he's in. I mean, except for Phantom Menace. That movie sucks. But if you don't know what Taken is? Seriously, guys, I am not that old. Okay. Yeah, he's the main guy in Taken. I'm a very old millennial. Yeah. Anyway, but Liam Neeson is in the movie. It's actually a pretty good movie, especially the beginning part with regard to psychology, because it actually goes through kind of that moment where he needs to figure these things out, as well as the survey method. He kind of goes through the training process with his people to train them how to ask these questions, because you don't want to ask a question and go, okay, so what happened? And then have the person tell you and then go, what? That's insane. I've never heard that before. Oh, I'm going to talk about this one when I get back. You have to kind of stay stone-faced so you don't, get people to stop talking. Yeah. I probably wouldn't be able to do that either. I'm not Liam Neeson. Anyway, the last thing that we need to talk about is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Now, this is kind of an explanation as to what drives us from an internal-external perspective. Now, there are people out there who say that intrinsic motivation are what we really should be aiming for, and anything less than that is a failure. Because anytime you are ever extrinsically motivated to do something is just not as good as if you were intrinsically motivated. And I say to that, bull. No way. It is good to be extrinsically motivated as much as it is to be intrinsically motivated to do something as well. To be intrinsically motivated means it is something that you just naturally want to do. Okay, so if you have spare time in your life, what do you do with it? Do you go for a hike? Do you play a sport? Do you listen to music? Do you play video games? That thing is what you're intrinsically motivated to do. Okay. An extrinsic motivator is something that requires either a reward or a punishment in order for you to actually do it. Okay. If it's stopping your mom from nagging you to death about your dirty bedroom, or the fact that you go to work so that you can get a paycheck. Okay. I can tell you for right now, if they didn't pay me to do this, I wouldn't be here right now. Now, that's not to say I don't like teaching and I wouldn't do it. But if they're not going to pay me, I can't do this for free. This is not a hobby. This is a profession. Okay. So if you're not paying me, I'm not doing it. I don't just show up and start working at Ralph's because funsies, I like to do that. No, you're going to have to pay me if you want me to do that. Okay. So extrinsic motivation are things that kind of help to push you to do something that you wouldn't normally do on your own. But intrinsic motivation is something that you just do naturally because it's something that you're interested in. Okay. If you've ever been told, eat all your vegetables or you won't get dessert, that's an extrinsic motivator. But if you've always eaten your vegetables because you like the taste of vegetables, then that's an intrinsic motivation. Okay. That's kind of the difference between the two. Again, I really hate it when people start putting labels on, well, especially teachers. Oh my God, I hate it when teachers start looking at me and go, well, they're not intrinsically motivated to do this, so I can't teach them. Bull. That's a bunch of bull, okay? Not everybody is going to be intrinsically motivated to learn geometry, okay? You have to find the thing that reaches the students. It's ridiculous for you to expect that they're just going to walk in your door. Oh, fill me with knowledge, oh great one. Oh, I hate it when they do that. It sounded gross. Probably could have found a better way to say that. Anyway. Like I said, a little bit of caffeine will go a long, long way. So So again, motivation are things that push us to do something, whether it be something that we need to do, something that we want to do, something that we have to do. It is the thing that pushes us into action, and that is what motivation is. All right. Whew. That was a lot. Do you have any questions for me regarding motivation, whether it be the drive reduction that we talked about on Tuesday or anything else that we may have gone over? Is there anything that I can assist you in understanding? What motivates me? A lot of different things do. Money is a good motivator because I like things and I like food and I like living in this house, and that requires money. So money is a motivating factor. For example, they're paying me to go up and do the whatchamacallit thing next week, the tutoring that we're offering to the seniors right now. So they're paying me to do that. That is a motivating factor. It's not the only thing that is there. I genuinely do want to help the people that are there, but if they didn't pay me to do that, I probably would not drive all the way to Palmdale to do that, because I haven't been to Palmdale since August, which is the longest amount of time that I haven't been in Palmdale ever. Okay. It really can't be all that bad. Yesterday we had a huge wind event that went through here. 3.5 or 4 trucks blew over on the freeway. I honestly thought that the wind was going to break one of the windows in the house. It was pretty bad. Yeah, I used to live up there, but my wife I got married, and she worked in Garden Grove at the time. Now she works in Palmdale, because why not? So now we both work in Palmdale. So, but we live down here, and I don't ever want to go. I don't want to move back. I love it down here. It's great. The Inland Empire is the best empire. What else motivates me? I don't know. I enjoy knowledge. I enjoy bettering myself. I mean, that's why I'm ultimately taking these classes through Cal State San Bernardino. I want to be a better teacher tomorrow than I am today. And I want my students to be better students than they were yesterday. So I'm always trying to, get that next day to be a little bit better than today. That's kind of another motivating factor for a lot of the things that I do. I don't know what you're calling BS on, but it's the truth. Why would I lie to you? Oh, that's funny. I would never, ever do that. She's home, so I can't say that I would. Yeah, I do things so that my daughter can have a better life tomorrow. I'm always doing things for her, trying to make sure that she's getting the experiences that maybe I didn't have, or maybe that I did have, and making sure that she gets the good things. I mean, we've taken her to Stockholm twice. I mean, for God's sakes, the first time I was in Europe was the first time she was in Europe. Okay, and she was 9 months old. I was 37. So I try to make sure that she has experiences. I know she won't, but that's okay. We have pictures. So that's okay. And it's not like we're never going to go back. We loved it there. It was fantastic. So we'll definitely go back when she's a little bit older. But it wasn't like we could leave her at home. So, we had to take her. Kind of one of those things. No, I don't have that kind of money on my hands. I wish I did. I really do. Leave her in Sweden. Actually, we could have left her with my wife's cousins, and she probably would have been fine. Have healthcare. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want that, because I would miss my daughter. But anyway, what else motivates me? I don't know. Ultimately, it comes down to the money to buy the things that I want to do, and the time to be able to do things that I want to make sure that I'm trying to do in this world, which is making it a little bit better of a place every single day. I don't succeed every day, but I try. She'll speak Swedish. A little bit. I mean, as much as I do, which is almost none. For example, hold on. Here we go. Broror Untervisor Chinesisca. I think that's how you spell it. Min Broror Untervisor Chinesisca, which is my brother teaches in Chinese. Why do I know that? Thank you, Duolingo. Don't make me put it on a 10-hour loop because I will. Anyway, office hours are from 1 to 2 o'clock today. Next week, we're going to see a little bit of change in office hours because of the fact that I'm going to be on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So office hours are going to change on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but heads up on that next week. If you're going to be coming to office hours, please let me know so that I can, be awake for them. Otherwise, I'll be writing more assignments for my classes and grading stuff. If you have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to email me. Office hours are from 1 to 2 o'clock. So if you did not take the test last week, get it made up. Today would be a great day to get that taken care of. Other than that, have a lovely weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday from Palmdale. First time since August. It's going to be weird. Probably going to have a room full of spider webs.
You can
No,
give
probably
me
won't be.
more. You could
What?
show
Can we
me
go through your stuff?
No.
Put the laptop on where Alexa's seat is for a POV.
I'll see what I
Wait, can we
can.
go through your stuff?
No,
Why not?
because I don't want to get coronavirus. Although I am getting the vaccine on Saturday.
Let's go. He's getting tracked.
Gonna be invincible. Sorry. When I get around to it, I'm sorry, Lizeth. Yeah, it's one of the things that I've gotten behind on because I'm trying to get my classwork done. I'll eventually get there, so just get it done. This week's discussion I won't even look at until after Sunday, so get this week's done. It's in there now.
Bye, Mac. Bye, Alexa.
She's already gone. Sorry, it's the best I can give you. That was so creepy, Layla. That was so gross. Seriously. Gross.